Dear students, the chapter we will talk about today is entitled The Review of the Related Literature. As you know, in any research, there are two parts, a theoretical and a practical one. The theoretical one is what is referred as the review of the related literature. So first we have to understand the role of the review. And here, I would like you to remember the slogan, "You know, you can." When you will start your research, at the very beginning, you will worry, you will be even afraid, simply because you don't know. But as soon as you start reading what others have done, then you start to know, and then you realize that you can do your work as others have been able to do so. It is a review of the literature. In other words, you will see again the literature, but it's not simply stating what was said, it is also analyzing and discussing the work done by others. So what is the goal of the review? First of all, it helps you in tackling your problem of research, because you will see what others have done and you will benefit from their experience. Plus, it's just a method or a technique. You know that there are many ways to collect the data. For example, you can use a questionnaire, an interview, tape recording. So, but what is the best method to use? You will know, but by reading what others have done, then you'll have an idea. So imagine that you read many articles tackling more or less the same problem. And then you find out that most of them are using a questionnaire. Then you realize that this is the method that you have to use. The review of the related literature can reveal to you sources of data that you were unaware of. It can also introduce you to significant research personalities. In other words, while reading many references, you will find that some names are repeated here and there. Then you realize that those names are names of researchers who are pioneers in the field. And therefore, starting by consulting them is a must to help you in your first steps of doing research. A review of the related literature can also help you see your study from a historical perspective. In other words, we suppose that you find an article which was written 10 or 20 years ago. Then you have the possibility to compare your results with the results found in this study. Plus, it provides you with new ideas that may not have occurred to you. So how to begin a search for related literature? You should remember to relate all the references that you have used to your problem. Never forget that whatever you read must be related to your problem. And remember that whatever you do serves only one purpose, is to contribute to the solution of your problem. The review of the literature is a section where we have a discussion of those efforts done by others. It's not simply saying that the author X said, the author Y said, the author Z said. Now, of course, we will state what they have said. But not only that, we have also to compare, contrast, analyze, and discuss. The reviewlet can also open up to any researcher possibilities of which he was unaware. In other words, ways of dealing with the problem same as others. How to write the related literature? First, you need to have a plan. If we cannot build a house without a plan, for fear that it may collapse, same for writing a simple essay or a research paper. A plan lends a sense of organization to your writing. It helps you avoid repetition, and it guides you in writing your ideas. The best guide in writing your outline is the problem itself. Remember to refer to classic studies because they are the pioneers, and so you have to follow their steps in doing your research. That's why you need to emphasize relatedness. Remind yourself each time about the relatedness of any reference that you are referring to. And also remind your readers about this type of relationship and make it explicit so that it's clear. So, each study referred to, you have to ask yourself the question, how is it related? If it is related, you have to state in an explicit way how. Otherwise, you have simply to delete it. A review of the literature is not a reproduction of this literature. In other words, it's not simply stating what others have said, but instead discussing, analyzing, comparing, and here, it's only here that your personality as a researcher emerges. Then you can start writing your own discussion. But remember that you have to paraphrase, not to plagiarize. It is very easy for your teachers and supervisors to detect plagiarism. How? By simply finding that while reading your paper, there are different styles, and we know that each writer has his own style. Besides, there are also many softwares that can help supervisor to detect plagiarism. So paraphrasing is a must. Otherwise, you'll waste your time and the time of your supervisor. Paraphrasing is very important. It's a very good exercise to check understanding. Remember when you have studied this in reading comprehension lessons, where you are asked, for example, to paraphrase a sentence. Sometimes the student can read a sentence, but he is not able to explain or to say it in his own words. So the only sign that shows whether the students have really understood a sentence or a paragraph is when he is able to paraphrase it and to say it in his own words. But remember, while paraphrasing, don't forget to acknowledge the reference from which you have taken the idea and to mention the date of reference inside the text. Goes without saying that the full reference will be stated at the end of your paper. Concerning quotations, remember that supervisors generally tolerate the use of short, direct quotations. But if necessary, if needed, we don't tolerate to have long quotations, especially in short papers like a paper of a BA degree, for the simple reason that if you allow that, many students will fall in the trap of just cutting and pasting and patching many parts and having at the end a product which is not homogeneous in terms of coherence. That's why using long quotation must be your last resort. That's why you have to show your relatedness. By how? You need to write your problem on top of the page. Why? So that you never lose sight of it and so that you don't forget your topic. I remember once giving a topic to my students in writing entitled In Defense of Divorce. Some students, what they have remembered is the word divorce and started writing about the negative side of divorce, while this was not their topic. The topic was in defense of divorce, and so students were supposed to write just about the positive side of divorce, because divorce in many situations can be a solution. Same for your research paper. It is longer than an essay, and you should never forget to your topic by keeping it in front of you all the time. Don't forget to divide your problem into sub-problems. You cannot divide a problem to more than 6 sub-problems as a maximum. The solution of all these sub-problems will lead to the solution of the whole problem. So this is how your paper will look like. Take a blank page and write the problem on top of your page so that you never lose sight of it and so that you never forget it. And then on the left side, put all the references that you have used with their sources. Don't forget, whenever you use a reference, to write down the full name of the author, the date of publication, the title of the article or the book, the house of publication, or the internet link from which you have retrieved your reference, plus the date when you have taken this reference. And remember also to mention whether the reference is yours, you have it in your house, or you have it in the library of the faculty. Why we need all this information? Because when you read many references, you need sometimes to go back to a given reference. It will be easy for you to go back and find it easily, and so you save a lot of time. On the right side of your paper, you have to answer the big question: how is my reference related to my problem? So we take reference 1, for example, and see how it is related to one of my sub-problems. You can find a reference which is related to one sub-problem or 2 or 3, it depends. So you have each time to say exactly how this reference is related to your sub-problem and state that in a simple phrase. You don't need even to write full sentences. So you will do that for all the references that you have. And when you finish, don't forget to gather all the citations related to each sub-problem of your problem. Remember that when you want to mention those citations, you have to paraphrase them and to acknowledge the reference. Then start studying the groups of references to each other so that you can come up with an outline. We imagine that reference 1, you find a definition of a concept, and you, in reference 3, for example, you find another definition of the same concept. Then you know that those 2 references should be gathered together under the same heading. The headings of your outline should necessarily contain words that are found in your problem. And then you can start to write your review, reminding yourself that you should not plagiarize, that while paraphrasing, always state your reference by mentioning the name of the author and the date of publication inside the text. At the end of your paper, you will need to write the full reference, which, as you know, you will follow whether different styles of writing a bibliography. It can be an APA style or an MLA style. It's up to you to use whatever you want. What matters is that you should be consistent. At the end, don't forget to summarize briefly what you have written in the review of literature and highlighting the significance, its significance to your research problem, and reminding your readers about the type of relationship between all the references that you have cited and the problem and the research. The reference I have used is Nachmias T. and Nachmias 1976, Research Methods in the Social Sciences. All right, to recapitulate, we have talked today about the role of the review of literature. We have said that it is a must to help beginner researchers in doing their research by looking at what other researchers have done. The goal is to assist researchers in their first steps. For example, it can suggest methods or techniques to be used. As I have said, you will know which method is the most appropriate when you look at other references and what are the methods that they have used. So how to begin our research or review of the related literature is by relating your references to your problem you are investigating. Never forget that you should not reproduce those references. You have to analyze, discuss, criticize, and here your personality as a researcher emerges. How can we write this related literature? You need to have a plan. Because if you don't have a plan, then your research will look like something which is not organized. So you need a plan or an outline which you will write it and being inspired by your problem first. Remember that a plan is a guide, it's not a prison. Feel free to modify anything while writing if you feel the need for. But it's a must to have this plan if you want to begin writing your research paper. Each time you have to emphasize relatedness. Never forget to remind also your reader about the type of relationship that exists between all the references that you have cited and your research paper. If you cannot show in an explicit way the type of relationship between your references and your problem, then you must simply delete those references. Remember the golden rule that you have to paraphrase instead of plagiarizing. In this way, your knowledge gets richer. At the end, don't forget to summarize briefly your review of literature, highlighting the significance or its significance to the problem you have investigated. Thank you very much.